Hey family, welcome back to another round of My Patriot Report Live. I am Ratwan Hill, the bridge connecting the next generation to federal contracting. And with me, I have the individual responsible for over $19 billion for the service disabled veteran-owned small business community and federal contracting, the individual who is the president of the elite SDVOSB network, one of the first service disabled veteran owned small business national spokesperson, Mr. Walter Cotton III. Mr. Cotton, happy Friday, man. How's it going?
It is going well on this side of the pond, seemingly for now.
Yeah, for now. Yes, sir. Let's jump right into it. I was doing some research, right? And then what I noticed was I'm seeing a common theme, and I want to get some thought calibration and get some perspective from you, right? So we're seeing a whole bunch of domestic attacks. So first, we got they said that California was on high alert because it could be potential drone attacks to the water infrastructure that they have. Then we have the March 1st attack in Austin with a gunman on 6th Street. Then we had the Old Dominion University attack. Then we had the Senegal attack yesterday where a car rammed into it. Now, I'm in the middle. I'm not saying it's Iran doing something, or if it's something inside politically or whatever. But from your perspective, what is this? What does this look like? Like, what does it seem to you? Because to me, it just seems like it doesn't seem like it's a coincidence that these events happen, and the fact that they were all pretty much Muslim based. I don't want to be a conspiracist. What does it, from your perspective, from a high level, is this a political move, or is this like something malicious doing from a Iran perspective?
These are embers from the type of war we have just gotten ourselves into. And the type of war that we have gotten ourselves into doesn't just support shock and awe, right? It doesn't just support shock and awe campaigns. And so the need in this particular instance is for us to be superior strategists, because our opponents know that there are more than one way to skin an American, right? And so what you're seeing in terms of these decentralized actions is the outgrowth of the foe or enemy that we're in a battle with, and these are their tools of war. And the challenge is that unless there is a change in trajectory, we can expect an escalation in the volume, right? Right now we're seeing, lone wolf kind of things, a couple guys from Pennsylvania get together at the mayor's house in New York and throw an improvised device, right? Right. We're seeing that kind of in action. It's not long before we see a more organized control action, the volume of which is going to have to be commensurate with the volume that they're seeing in their country. So, right now, for those of you who haven't gotten out of the mustard, so that we all can catch up, we're in a war that has reached into your backyards.
Now, I'm a little bit younger, so maybe you could give some more detail. Have you witnessed or experienced in your lifetime anything of this nature? I can't recall in my adult lifetime where it was, other than 9/11, of course, but like a bunch of different type of domestic attacks. Is this something newer, or is this something that's like a common historic theme?
This is something new in my 66 plus years around this planet, I don't think that I've ever seen a condition in these United States where we have the combination of domestic unrest, right? Where we have, pushing from within the society at the same time that we have a kinetic conflict outside that's pushing on America. So I have not seen a condition that is as potentially challenging as the one we face as a nation right now.
So from a strategic standpoint, how should Americans be looking at this? How should the citizens be looking? Should we be on high alert, fully aware, utilizing the Second Amendment to the fullest, maximum practicable extent possible? Or
well, that Second Amendment consideration is a pretty strong charge there, but I would stay locked and loaded if I was an American citizen. What we really want to be paying attention to, I think, is our ability to send messages as the people of these United States, right? Because right now, our friends, let's call them what they are, which are the citizens of these other nations that may be under siege, they need to know what we, the people, think. Because right now, the only thing that they know is what our government thinks, right? That's the only thing that they know. They know the policies that we are allowing to be executed on a global stage. And the current policy that is being executed is an aggressive policy, right? It's a strongman policy. It's a bullying policy, and it was just met with a underlying strategy of maybe these guys are not agreement viable. Maybe they're not agreement capable, right? And so it's a time when we the people need to find a way to message to the rest of the world what America's opinion is, what America's attitude is, how we feel about some of the actions that have been taken in our good name.
So do you believe that we're maybe too far from the point of return? You think we're too deep in there? Because the Iran leader, he had a public statement pretty much stating that they're going to keep blocking the Strait of Hormuz, and that essentially that they're not going to stop until a point of pain where they won't be attacked no more. So are we looking at, is it too far to turn back now? Like it has to be either we all the way in or we just all the way pull back out.
There is never a point in a fight that is too far to not stop. You know what I'm saying? There's never a point in a conflict that calmer, saner minds can't prevail, right? And so I disagree that we're on an inevitable path to destruction, number one. And number two, I bet more strongly on the human spirit, right? Before we see catastrophic mass destruction of humanity, the human spirit will wake up and we will identify the causal factor and we will eliminate it, right? But that's what I believe. What's in your wallet.
Yes, sir. And I'm glad you said what's in your wallet, because now that's a good segue to this $1.3 trillion opportunity and the $50 billion that you're looking to bring into Florida. You got any updates with the elite SDVOSB network and with Florida, like where things are at with that?
We have a situation where we sat down and met with the powers that be in Florida, our friends in the VA, and they've given us a pathway to helping those people that they have currently scheduled in the queue. And so what we've decided to do is kick off our inaugural service disabled veteran training on Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. And so we are equally looking to affect the needs of those disabled veterans that no longer qualify for their VR&E veteran benefit. And so Mr. Hill is working on a VR&E solution for those people. And I want to talk more liberally about that component in that area. But the big update for those of you that are interested, we have a May 5th class, limited seating, with the 5 million plus people that qualify. I would encourage you to either surf out to that URL or go over to our website and make your interest in participating known.
Yes, sir. Now we talked about this. Now I want to bring it publicly. Your client zero, the Todd Mulvaney scholarship. Could you explain what the Todd Mulvaney scholarship is and who qualifies for that scholarship?
Well, and that's a good question because the criteria for qualification has been evolving because my friend only passed just recently. But what we're looking to do is we're looking to provide a out for those disabled veterans that are in the contracting space, right? You did everything that you were told at PTAC or APACS or the Small Business Development Center, right? You got yourself registered in SAMS, you got your certification, but you still haven't cracked the code and gotten the contract, right? Because that was Todd's dilemma, right? Todd had matured, his business model had matured out of viability. And so for veterans that are registered in the federal procurement database, that are registered in SAMS, but have not gotten a contract, we're going to create a scholarship that allows you to have up to a 50% reduction in the cost of the course. We're going to do that for a limited time to seat at least 30 of you all in the upcoming class. And so this is an exclusive. Mr. Hill is squeezing out of me here. We weren't going to announce it so early, but we are establishing a scholarship for my client zero, Todd Mulvaney, J. Todd Mulvaney, Joseph. And it's going to be a 50% discount on the price of the class for those existing service disabled veterans, right? You have to have a business, you have to be registered, you have to be certified, who haven't exactly cracked the code yet.
Yes,
Cat's
sir,
out of the bag.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I want to expand on that because for the disabled veterans who may or may not know, with the VNRE benefit, as of October 2024, they changed the regulations from beforehand, you could have an existing business and you still could qualify for your VNRE benefit. But as of October 2024, they changed that to only startup business or in a startup phase, even though they didn't fully define what startup phase mean. But you can't have an existing business and qualify for your VNRE benefit for self-employment track.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying here. What you're saying is that prior to that October, what was the date again?
October 2024.
Prior to October 2024, if I was a disabled veteran, I could utilize, and I had an existing business, right? I was an existing federal contractor. I could utilize my VR&E benefit to help me expand, to help me make my disabled veteran business more viable, right?
Yes, sir.
After that October 2024 date, I could no longer do that. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, sir.
Why?
And that's a good question. Why would they change it? I don't know. It was like I said, it was a 0.001% of people doing it. So I can't imagine that it was somebody abusing the system who had millions of dollars. But that's a good question. And
I'm using these questions to give you the setup for the come up. because, a lot of people, have not paid attention to this obscure benefit, right? And you've studied yourself, approved on it, and become a subject matter expert. And they've made some changes to the benefit so that if you don't understand it, right, you could shoot your bullet and put yourself in that what do they call it, appeal purgatory, right? And so let's talk a little bit about what your knowledge of another change that they made to the VRNE program was surrounding the I guess they call it counselor roulette. Explain that change and how devastating that is for veterans that are looking at that benefit today.
Indeed, yes, sir. So beforehand, you could go through the VNRE process, right? So I could use from my own experience. Many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I tried to go through the VNRE, go through the self-employment track, and my counselor said it pretty much gonna take an act of Congress for you to get approved for a self-employment track. So I stopped and I didn't go through it because I was determined to use the self-employment track. So I was able to then just reapply and then potentially most likely get a different counselor. Because of this counselor roulette ruling, essentially you pretty much just have one bullet. Like Mr. Cotton says, you have one shot to go through this. And if you don't get approved or if you don't get the result you're looking for, then you have to go through appeal process, or you have to go to a higher consideration, meaning you have to talk to the director of the VNRE for your region. You have to go to a different process. And so really you got one shot.
I want to make sure that I clearly understand what you're saying. I think what you said was that historically, if you went through the process of trying to qualify for the self-employment track, and during that qualification process, your counselor either gave you the indication that they were going to deny that track, right, or actually denied that track, you had the option to later reapply for the program with a different counselor. That was the historic state. And what you're suggesting is that one of the other change that came out of this October 2024 ruling was that in the event that you were denied by your counselor after that date, you now had to go into the normal benefits appeal process to appeal that ruling, which demonstratively changed your position as a disabled veteran and how you should approach even considering trying to get qualified for the program. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and you imagine the appeal process, any appeal process with the VA, you could imagine how long that is. So imagine you waiting a year, 2 years plus for you to be able to jumpstart your career. That's the difference from you being an at-risk veteran to, being a homeless veteran. So that's a problem.
So in point of fact, and I'm gonna just lift up the hood and show the audience your benevolence. That's why you created the VRNE Cliff Note or Help training program. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We saw that that was going to be a problem, and just from all the comments and feedback that we've been getting from individuals who going through the process, we see the common themes being the problems. So we said, okay, we got to create a solution that helps veterans streamline their approval process, because we don't want them to be at risk, and we don't want them to have to go through a year, 2 year plus appeal process for benefits that they earned.
And so the truth of the matter is, you actually got yourself approved for the VRNE self-employment program. Isn't that correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And instead of you taking that approval, right, and running down the road selfishly, what you did was you got together with me and put together a program to make sure that your fellow fraternity members that are in BDUs and boots, or maybe still out there at risk, knew that there was a pathway that had been cured for this benefit. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. 1,000%. And for full transparency, my process through it, I got denied. They denied me initially, but then, Mr. Cotton put a little cotton in my ear and realized, you track more flowers with honey, and came with a collaborative standpoint. We were able to come together with my counselor and their supervisor to, transform that no to a yes.
And so, what we are currently doing, just to give you all full transparency, we're currently proactively working with the Veterans Administration, right, with the VRNE office, with the Veteran Health Benefits Agency to help them solve this problem, as opposed to fighting against them, right, and telling them how bad they are for not putting more veterans through the program. And so what you're hearing in the form of Mr. Hill's preparatory program to make sure that your feces are amalgamated, right, before you go and apply for the program, right, that's his selfless gift to the community to make sure that you can afford to pay attention to the class, right, that I'm delivering, right, that helps you all put yourself in a position to be the owners of the next $300 billion that we are going to transfer into your hands. So if you're really smelling what I'm cooking, you want to find Mr. Hill's email address, right? You want to find Redtwan, the D is silent, Hill's email address, and holla at your boy about a seat in his next VRNE class. Enough shameless plugs. This is your show. What else would you like to talk about?
Yes, sir. And I want to talk about the mentor protege program. Now, the SBA All Small Business Mentor Protege Program, which you're responsible for co-authoring the legislation for. A lot of people in this industry believe that you have to gain some experience by going through the subcontracting, get you some experience, then get prime contract, and build your way up from the prime contract. It's a tiers how they look at it. But the point of fact is that these mentor protege programs like SBA, DOD, Department of Energy, the programs were created to help develop the small business. My question is it a true or false statement that you have to have years of experience in this space in order to participate in it?
No. That's why we have business development programs in the federal contracting space to take our small business community and cross-pollinate capability so that we have a robust industrial base to pull from to support the economy and to support the needs of the government mission. And so, that ideation of, chicken or egg when it comes to experience and past performance in the federal space has already been answered by the programs and policies that they have in place. For example, we're talking about mentor protege, which is designed to take the capability and capacity of our most experienced, well-heeled contractors and cross-pollinate that right with our small business community so that we have a steady breed, right? We have a steady stock of good qualified suppliers to pull from. And so the government saw a need to incentivize these large businesses to work with small businesses that don't have any past performance, right? That don't have any experience. And so they created things like affiliation exemption, right? To create business development mentor protege programs like the one that you see in the SBA. So under that program, a large business can literally dip themselves in the fountain of youth and become a bigger small business. Listen to that terminology, folks. I'm throwing some jewels out here. And that bigger small business has the ability to go after any federal contract as a small business. The incentivizing on the DOD side of the equation is actual cash or credit reimbursement. And so the government has long created a program that is designed to help the organization that doesn't have any experience, right? That doesn't have any past performance secured that experience and that past performance. And they've done that through what I like to call, drumroll please, a sanctioned pass-through, right? That's what these affiliation exemption programs are, where the mentor and the protege can work together on a federal contract. It is a sanctioned pass-through, right? Just like tax avoidance versus tax evasion, it's allowed, and it's allowed in the federal contracting space because Congress knew in its infinite wisdom that we always needed a robust industrial base. Should we find ourselves in a time of war and need additional munitions, what we found historically was having a robust small business industrial base reduced the opportunity or the ability of the war profiteers to gouge the federal government. And so these programs like mentor protege or joint venturing, right, between small businesses, right? You take a small business that's got past performance, they got capability and capacity, but in our federal system, let's say the veteran-owned small business community or the disabled veteran-owned small business community comes into favor. Well, our Congress saw it in the wisdom, in the best interest of the nation, to allow those two organizations to come together and create a joint venture where you've got now a service disabled veteran-owned small business with capability and capacity and past performance. But if you look at it from yesterday's paradigm, that service disabled veteran that's sitting out there on a log with all of the pure potentiality in the world can't get anywhere, right? Unless somebody recognizes that he needs a hand, right? He needs to get some informal mentoring to understand, how to build an HR department. He needs to get some informal mentoring to understand how to build accounting systems that handle DCAA accounting, right? And so there is a small business to small business cross-pollination capability that Congress, in its wisdom, has already bred into the Code of Federal Regulations. And so if you read the Small Business Act, you're going to read words that, and I'm going to paraphrase here, sound something like the following. It is the policy of Congress to use small businesses to the maximum extent practicable. Why is that language the policy of Congress? It is there because small businesses are critical. They are essential to the security and economic vitality of these United States. Yet I digress.
Whew, Mr. God, hey, I wanted to drop the fire emojis and everything, man. You just dropped you. I think you might have dropped a little bit too many. But now statute wise, does the law actually require a specific number of years of experience?
No.
Thank you.
No,
Okay.
no. The statute requires you to have relevant past performance. And relevant past performance has multiple definitions depending on what program, and it's a lot of that is at the discretion of the contracting officer. And so the culture within the acquisition community that only saw things from one myopic lens was disrupted and shaken apart by Doge. It is currently being reimagined by this centralization of contracts under the federal government's procurement agent. And so industry needs to get out of the mustard so that we can catch up and put ourselves in a position to be what our government agencies need in this season, because we had 1.2 trillion that we were looking at. This administration is trying to push another $500 billion through the National Defense Authorization Act because guess what? We've got some replenishing of defense stockpiles that have to take place. So this is a season, right, for him and her who bore the battle. You're saying it. Get out of the mustard. So we can catch up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, and on that note, guys, I am Ratwan Hill, and that is the Mr. Walter Cotton III. Have a great weekend. Until next time.